Greetings everyone, my name is Rapi bin Zulkifli, and my group and I will be discussing about Grice's Maxims. Now, in this study, there are 7 objectives. The first objective of the study is to find out how a study of semantics can help a student understand in topics such as word meaning, sentence relationships, discourse, and even context of words. The second objective of this study is how can the study of semantics improve the solving ability of a student, especially in topics such as the meaning of words. The third objective of this study is to find out the relationship between semantics and improving the skills of English second learners. Next up, the fourth objective of this study is to find out why the study of semantics is considered important, especially to a teacher who teaches ESL classroom in general, or in other words, English second language, and the relation of Grice's Maxims in particular. The fifth objective is to find out the importance of teaching Grice's Maxims to English second language learners. Next up, the sixth objective is basically a study on any methods that can be used to teach Grice's Maxims towards learners.
Hello everyone, my name is Mayan. Today I would like to introduce 2 parts. One is how the study of semantics can improve students' understanding of the word meaning, sentences relationships, and so on. The other one is how semantics can solve students' difficulty in understanding meaning. First of all, let's study with first. Normally, students learning a second language can remember many words when they learn, but they don't know when these words are used, which makes it easy for students to forget words. If students use semantics knowledge, they will pay attention to the meaning and structure of words, such as the semantics field and the structure relationship between the words. Semantics can improve students' ability to understand words in the use and understand of word meaning. Secondly, semantics learning can improve students' understanding of sentences relationships. When students learn to understand the semantics relationship between the words, they will find that this is also a certain semantics relationship between the sentences and each compound of the same sentences. For example, sentences A is synonymous with sentences B. A is the boy killed the dog, and B is the dog was killed by the boy. Thirdly, semantics can improve students' understanding of context. An English second language learner can understand the different meanings expressed in different contexts through semantics. Fourth, semantics can improve students' understanding of discourse. In everyday communication, the meaning of discourse and written language is the same, but the expression of the two is different in different situations. Students can distinguish the differences between the two expressions through semantics knowledge. So now let me introduce the second part. In classroom, usually has quite part of students in learning another language. Understanding meaning is difficult. As student, understanding of meaning may be limited by their age and is influenced by cultural and individual experience. For example, such as growth in northwest of China's student maybe think of the mountains is brown, while growth in southern China's students maybe think of the mountain is green. Comparing two, we can see that this is because the environment is different and affect their first impression. Because in northwest of China, the environment is very dry. There was not many plants growing. But in Southton, the environment is wet and rainy, so there are many plants growing everywhere. Not only for first impressions, but also for learning a second language, students get confused about other things like cinemas and so on. From the study of semantics can help them by analyzing cinemas, antonyms, and so on in English vocabulary, enable students to enlarge and increase their knowledge of vocabulary. This method is collectively called semantic analytical writing. The advantage of this method is that students can analyze the known vocabulary in groups during the process of analysis. Students can deeply their memory of the words and observe new words and build them in the known background. From this learning method, we can know that medical research is helpful to solve students' difficulties in understand meaning.
The relationship between teaching semantics and improving English second language learners' skills. The first one is increase learners' understanding and awareness of word meaning, sentence relationship, and discourse and context. A strong understanding of words will help learners to convey clear message. By understanding words, it will make our speech more interesting, appropriate, and even fluent. It means by teaching or learning semantics, do make you understand your language and use your language better. The second one is develop critical thinking skills. Teaching semantics can develop critical thinking and improve English second language learners' skills. It is to allow learners to analyze and synthesize the different semantics characteristics within their own language and other languages better. The last one is understanding proper sentence structure. In teaching semantics, structuring words into a sentence are the important aspects. Learners will know the lexical relation and understand how to make a proper sentence structure. Hence, English second language learners will be able to speak in a structured manner and avoiding ambiguity. It will improve their skills in second language.
Hello everyone, so today I'm going to talk about the importance of semantics in general and in relation to Grice Maxims for both teachers and students. So for the teachers, of course, the teaching of semantics and Grice Maxims can be a guideline to teach ESL learners about the relation of words and sentences, for example. So for the students, in my opinion, they will benefit more as they can learn various things from semantics and Grice Maxims. So for example, for the first point, ESL learners can acquire a language better when they learn about semantics and Grice Maxims. This is because semantics deals with the meanings of words and also the relationship between words in a sentence, phrases or clause, etc. And this relates actually to Grice Maxims because in Grice Maxims, it is a guideline to a meaningful conversation. That is the main point for Grice Maxims, which is to have a meaningful conversation between two or more individuals. So for the second point is that when an ESL learner learns semantics and Grice Maxims, they are more familiar, or they can understand inferences better. This is because when someone is not familiar with the language or the forms in a new language, it becomes difficult for them to understand things such as inferences. So for the third point, when semantics and Grice Maxims is taught by a teacher to an ESL student, it actually helps students to understand the proper structure of a sentence. So this means that when an ESL learner learns Grice Maxims and also semantics, they will understand on how a proper sentence functions, and therefore they can maximize the use of semantic knowledge and Grice Maxim knowledge and apply them to their sentences or their daily speeches. Moreover, I will talk about the importance of Grice Maxims to ESL learners. So ESL learners can take the knowledge of Grice Maxim in order to help them have a proper conversation. So for example, when they know the maxim of manner that tells us to have a brief, orderly and a clear conversation, they will try to avoid obscure speech in their conversation. So for the second point, ESL learners can use Grice Maxims to help them provide an accurate answer in a conversation. This is because when they do not violate the four maxims, they will be able to give an accurate answer and a clear answer, so that their answer will not be misinterpreted by the other individual in the conversation. So for the third point, ESL learners can be more confident when they know the Grice Maxims. This is because when they learn about Grice Maxims, they know how to form a proper sentence or communicate effectively with others. So this can help boost their confidence in talking or having a conversation with other people. So for the last point is that when an ESL learners learn about Grice Maxim, they are able to communicate creatively. This is by violating the Grice Maxims. So let us imagine if we obey the Grice Maxims 100%, then any conversations would be really boring. So when an ESL learners learn about Grice Maxims, they will not only learn to obey it, but also to violate it in order to express indirectness, like sarcasm and being polite in a conversation.
Now, we are going to move on to methods on teaching Grice's Maxims to English learners. There are three methods that we have proposed on teaching Grice's Maxims, and the first one is so the reason why we chose oral communication is Grice's Maxims tend to be related on everyday communication, and Paul Grice's Maxims tend to emphasize the importance of truthful, effective and meaningful communications among two parties, which is why through oral tasks such as group communications, conversations, storytelling, or maybe even expressing yourself in general to your peers is a helpful way on learning Grice's Maxims and understand them better. Additionally, since students are going to be involved in voice communication activities, educators can take the chance to look at their speech patterns and see whether or not they are violating the rules of Grice's Maxims, and they can suggest improvements or tips on how to improve their speech, and this overall not only extends their understanding on Grice's Maxims but also improves their ability to speak in general. This method also helps students to improve their communication abilities by learning not to stray off topic, improve their vocabulary, as well as their speech flow and speech patterns, and overall improve their communication abilities. Moving on to the second method, we have essay exercises. Now I know essay exercises are quite boring, but it is such an effective way to learn Grice's Maxims. A reason why is because in essay questions, students are basically given the freedom to express their thoughts based on questions given and the fact that they're writing lots of words into one result. This means that educators can easily analyze their writing and see whether or not violations can be seen in their writing. Students and educators alike can later on analyze their forms of writing and see whether or not that might be in violation to Grice's maxims, and in turn they can help see for themselves whether or not their writing is violating the rules, and they can better understand them not just through a mental sense but also physically. And as a bonus, through learning Grice's maxims, they also improve their writing, which is a very valuable skill, especially during examinations where writing tends to have the most marks in examinations. Moving on to the last method of teaching Grice's maxims, we opted to choose essay exercises. In other words, open-ended questions that usually take form in subjective forms. Now, open-ended questions is a great way to allow educators to give students the ability to express freely without being restricted to any piece of module or any piece of answering sheet. Furthermore, since open-ended questions allow for a variety of answers, there may be answers which might stray off topic or isn't accurate enough to be counted as an answer to the question. And according to one of Grice's maxims, which is the maxim of quality, this maxim emphasizes the importance of truthful, impactful, and non-distracting answers, which is very important, especially for open-ended questions such as these, because students tend to be very eager when answering this, and what they don't realize is that they might be straying off topic. Which is why overall, open-ended questions is a good way for students to learn about the clarity in answer, especially the maxim of quality, and in turn, this allows them to understand Grice's maxims better and also improves their answering ability to answer correctly and accurately.
Hello, my name is Ryan and I will be talking about the 7th point. If you were a teacher, how would you teach the subject? So first things first, we will need a teaching plan to start off. First up, to be able to teach the topic, we must first understand what the topic is about. The topic is about Grice's maxims. That's what we chose, and we should know the definitions of what is comprised of the maxims. So the first one, the definition of Grice's maxims, which are the maxim of quality. The maxim of quality is basically you should, in conversations, you should have a truthful information you want to convey to the students. Next, maxim of quantity, you must give enough information to the students so they can understand it. Next up, in the maxim of relation, it requires people to be relative, not irrelevant in their giving their information to their students, so you must be relevant in your information. The last one is the maxim of manner, which discusses that information should be easily understood, should be conveyed so the students can easily understand the information. So next up, the teaching plan should have content standards, including what the student should know about the topic and what will they get from the topic. Various strategies can be applied based on the learning session, and it is mostly comprised of inquiry and responses from the teacher and the students. And by the end of the learning session, the students should be able to should have knowledge on the topic and be able to apply it in real life situations. First up, there are 5 teaching stages towards producing an effective teaching plan. So first up, which is set induction, then will be followed by presentation, practice, production, and closure. So in the first stage, which is set induction, it is mostly you greet the students and you introduce them to some pictures and some information about the topic, but not telling them the topic, not telling what the topic is about yet. And you ask the students what the topic is about. Ask them to guess what the topic is about. And next up, in the presentation stage, we will then reveal to them what the subject is about, show a slide about the topic, which is Grice Maxims. We recite the intro and almost pausing for punctuation, and at the end of each stanza. Then we will ask the students to read some of the slides so they can understand more about the maxims, each maxims, and maybe they can brainstorm about it. Then the last one in the presentation stage, which is explain what each maxims are about, which is basically what it says. We explain what each maxim of quality, quantity, relation, and the last one, which is maxim of manner. Practice phase, which is the practice stage, we will ask students to listen to instructions. We will give students to instructions about what activity or exercise they should do next. Then we will divide them into groups according to how many maxims. There are 4 maxims, so we will divide them into 4 groups, each discussing each maxim, and each group will discuss one of the selected maxims and brainstorm about it and create dialogues from it. In the production phase or production stage, we will distribute items related to the topic, maybe some papers or more information regarding the Grice's maxims, and ask each group to share their group's ideas to the whole class. Then we will the groups will select representatives to talk about it in front of the class and discuss it with the whole class, and maybe also talk about what they have brainstormed or what they have the dialogues that they have created. Then the teacher demonstrates an example, maybe. So us as teachers, we must demonstrate the example to tell the students clearly, so they can understand clearly what the topic is about. For example, maybe in the maxim of quality, we create a dialogue and tell them what the dialogue is about. Then we will ask them to brainstorm about it and maybe create more dialogues before finishing the class. Finally, at the end of the teaching stage, which is the closure stage, we will conclude what the lesson, and we will ask them what they have learned and ask them to give a brief summary of what they have learned. And finally, we will dismiss the class.
As you see, semantics is the branch of linguistics that teach us how to deal with the meaning of words, phrases, and sentences. The deeper we understand about words and their meaning, the more fluent we get in the language, especially in second language learning. We choose Grice Maxim as our topic to investigate how semantics affect learners and educators. In fact, more researchers are needed to explore this area that may be important and useful to English second language classroom.
Irvine.